لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل، نعم المولى ونعم النصير. أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله الذي لم يتخذ ولدا ولم يكن له شريك في الملك ولم يكن له ولي من الذل وكبره تكبيرا. ثم الصلاة والسلام والتحية والإكرام على النبي الأمي الذي أرسله بالحق بشيرا ونذيرا وداعيا إلى الله بإذنه سراجا منيرا، سيدنا ومولانا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين الغر الميامين المعصومين الذين أذهب الله عنهم رجسا وطهرهم تطهيرا. أما بعد، فقد قال الله تبارك وتعالى في كتابه المبين: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل لا أسألكم عليه أجرا إلا المودة في القربى. صدق الله العلي العظيم. Please recite the love salawat. Before we start, if I can kindly request you to all please move slightly forward, so when people coming from behind interrupt your and break your concentration. Please recite another salawat on Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Jazakumullah khair al-jaza. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward you for the attendance in the majlis of Imam al-Husaini alayhi salatu wasalam. May Allah cause these majalis to be reminders. The ayah as a reminder, the riwayah as a reminder, the stories of the Imams as a reminder, the story of the Prophets as reminders. So we find time for ourselves to reflect upon the lessons we can learn from the divine guides provided to us by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we connect through these gatherings and these majalis. Some faces I see who come here every day. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you. And those who I see less frequently probably are doing this, attending the majalis elsewhere. As long as you keep connected to the Ahlul Bayt and the dhikr of the Ahlul Bayt, because the hearts can get rusty. And when rust accumulates, the best thing is the dhikr of Allah and the dhikr of Rasulullah and the dhikr of Alullah, Ahlul Bayt alayhim salatu salam. The ayah of the Quran that has been the title for the last few nights is where Allah commands the Prophet to say, O Rasul, I do not ask anything in reward or recompense. I do not want anything in return. For what? For prophethood, for the message, for the messenger that I am, for the guidance that I give you. I do not seek for anything except that you love and you have mawadda for my family. The family is Ali and Al-Zahra, Al-Hasan, Al-Husayn, and the children of Husayn, to the Sahib Al-Asri wa Zaman, Ajjal Allahu Ta'ala Farajahu Sharif. And to make manifest and understand this particular ayah, what is the messenger? What is the message? Who is the messenger? What difficulties do the prophets have to go through for the message to get to us? We spoke of different prophets and their times and their tests. We spoke of the ladies in the family, Bibi Maryam Salamullah alayha, namely, their sacrifices, their tests, their tribulations. So we can connect and humanize them. Let's remove them and consider them infallible. They don't feel pain, they don't feel hurt. No, they're very human. They feel pain and they feel hurt and they experience things. But through them shines the light of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they guide us because they're the lanterns of guidance. For someone who's lost, someone who's in the dark, for someone who's looking, for someone who does not know, he realizes the truth that holds true throughout times and periods. The problem is sometimes we do not feel the need for guidance because we're very cushioned and very comfortable. It's when life knocks you and when life becomes difficult do you start looking for yourself. When we're young, we're defined by those around us. When we grow slightly older, we look for meaning and definition. Then we define ourselves. We may be true in defining ourselves and we choose a direction and we may make mistakes sometimes. Some people reach ages, what you would call nearing old age, and they're still looking for themselves. رحم الله امرئ عرف من أين في أين إلى أين can be translated two ways. Imam Ali says, may Allah have mercy on someone who knows where he's from, where he's at, and where he's heading, or Allah has had mercy on someone, that is why he knows where he's from, where he's at, and where he's heading. Two ways this can be translated. The reason I chose the prophets, the stories of the prophets, is to understand the legacy of Imam al-Husayn alayhi salatu salam. Imam Hussein does not exist outside a paradigm, and Imam Hussein does not act outside a paradigm. The legacy of Sayyid al-Shuhada Imam Hussein is the legacy of the prophets. When we say Assalamu alayka ya waritha Adama Safwatillah, Assalamu alayka ya waritha Nuha Nabiyullah, Assalamu alayka ya waritha Ibrahim Khalilullah, you see the trials and the tribulations and the tests of the Anbiya, and because of those tribulations and the tests, the Anbiya then got these stations or Allah announced their stations because of the tests. So it is proved to humanity that these are not tests because there is a bias, because these people merit it and they deserve it. And now you see why they deserve it and they merit it. And Hussein alayhi salatu salam, Sayyid al-Shuhada, he follows the legacy as well. One of the problems people face is the problem of jealousy, al-hasad. See, when we speak of the people who were the divine guides appointed by Allah, the Ahlul Bayt, or the Anbiya, or the Rusul, or the Payghambar as we know them, we also need to shed light on the characters that opposed them and what was the reason of the opposition. The first one to openly defy the commandments of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was the shaitan. If you were to read the verses of the Quran, where shaitan speaks to Allah, and he says, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, will you not give me time till the appointed time? And I will try to misguide them, and I will try to take them astray and away from your path. You understand, shaitan realizes the tawheed of Allah. Shaitan acknowledges that there is a Rasul and there is Risala, that Adam is to be the messenger and the Khalifa. And Shaitan also understands that there is a day of judgment to come. And these are the three principles of Abrahamic faith: to have faith in a creator, and to have faith that there is a messenger from the creator, and to have faith that there is a day of reckoning by the creator where the creator will be judge and the messengers will be witness. And Shaitan called upon all of these three words. But his problem, his issue was jealousy. It says, how is Adam better than I am? خَلَقْتَنِي مِن نَارٍ وَخَلَقْتَهُ مِن طِينٍ. And this jealousy stems from a place. For jealousy is only a symptom. The root and the cause of it is pride. When one is to see themselves better than the other, that is when jealousy comes. Jealousy is, why does he have it? Why does he deserve it? Why does he merit it? Why? The blessings for him, the ni'mat for him, the easy life for him. Why do I have to struggle? Why do I have to suffer? It's because you see yourself to be someone special. And this, what started with Shaitan and Nabiullah Adam, continues with man, and it flows with man. Because the same thing, what was witnessed in the heavens, was also witnessed on the earth when Qabil killed his brother Habil, the children of Adam alayhi salam. And the reason? Jealousy. And the root of it, pride. Why him? Why not myself? And pride is one of those sins. Pride is one of those sins that seeps into the being of man without man realizing what is happening to him. That is why we spoke about a good friend the other night. My brothers and sisters, when you're looking for a friend, you're supposed to be a good friend, and you ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless you with a friend who will show you the mirror, who will show you, who will keep you in check when pride is to grow and pride is to overcome your being. Pride will eat you without you realizing, and one day anyone who admonishes you or corrects you or tells you, you will fight them and contest them and argue with them. A prime example, Fir'aun. Fir'aun, the one who opposed Musa. Fir'aun was not born a god. Fir'aun was not born proud. Fir'aun was a child like any other child. But then he grew into his character. People kissed his hand, people kissed his forehead. Oh, the son of the king, the son of Ramses. You are our king. Whatever you say will happen. However you command us, we shall do. And this child, this young man, started believing it. Got to a point when he was admonished by Musa, he would not listen. Till a point where he says, Ana Rabbukumul A'la. I am your God, the highest one. Pride. Pride destroyed him. Pride caused him to suffer at the hands of the wrath of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Where else do we see jealousy and where else do we see pride? In the story of Nabi Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam. Again, as a reminder, the reason I share this is because I do not know who else to compare Hussein's life to, if not to the prophets of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There is no man that walks this earth who can compare to Hussein, ya Ali, who can compare to Hussein alayhi salatu wasalam. And who I can say, this is the mirror. This mirror reflects Hussein, the image of it. When it reflects Hussein in his sabr, it is Ayub. When it reflects Hussein in his forgiveness and his Jamal, it is Yusuf. When this mirror reflects Hussein in his wisdom, it is Shu'aib and Luqman. When this mirror reflects Hussein alayhi salatu salam in all the qualities, then you see the Anbiya alayhi salatu salam. Allah speaks explicitly in the Quran and it manifests through Hussein time after time. And that lesson will live till time exists because Allah has willed for it to live. The story of Nabiullah Yusuf. He says, Ya bata raitu fil manam. Oh father, I saw in a dream. What dream did Yusuf alayhi salatu salam have? The dream of Nabi Yusuf. He sees stars and the moon and the sun prostrate. And he goes to his father and he says, Oh father, I see a dream. An interesting dream. I see a dream where I see the moon and the stars and the sun in prostration. The father understands the naysayer of men. The father understands the strengths of humanity and the weakness of humanity. And the father says, Ya Musa, la taqsus ru'yak. Do not share your story. Do not share your dream with others. Because he also knows the family. When the brothers of Yusuf find out, brothers in flesh and blood, different mothers, same father though. When they hear the story, they say, Our father loves Yusuf more. See, sometimes this may not be the case. You may feel that a parent loves the other child more or favors them. At most times, this is an unfair assessment because, philosophically speaking, min haythiyya of your child, you love them equally. But yes, obviously, your behavior would dictate how they behave with you in a certain instance. A teacher, when he walks into a classroom, or somebody who sits on the mimbar, I'm not talking about myself, when they see you pay attention, would focus on you. But if you were busy with something else, I would turn away. Because why would the teacher or the parent waste their words on someone who's not listening? Same way, parents operate the same way. Yusuf was an obedient child, and his father loved him so. The brothers became jealous. The root of jealousy, pride. What is wrong with us? Why does he not speak to us? Why does he not talk to us the way he's intimate with Yusuf, the way he respects Yusuf? It came to a day where they said, Yusuf, let's go out to play. Let's go out. And they asked Yaqub if they could take him. Yaqub says, I fear that a wolf shall eat him. He knew exactly what they were plotting. He knew exactly what they were planning. They said, no, no, we'll be careful and we'll keep watch over him. They come back with a shirt bloodied and they say, this is Yusuf's blood. The animal struck and he took Yusuf and he ate him and he killed him. While where is Yusuf right now? Yusuf is stuck at the bottom of a well, alone, destitute, lonely, thrown in the well by his own brothers, people he's supposed to trust and love as family and respect. The people who are supposed to keep him safe are the people who turned away from him. Any man would break. Not anyone would be able to trust after this. The same people who are your family, the same people who are supposed to keep you safe, are the same ones that threw him in the well. Please recite a salawat. Ali, please recite another salawat. The same people you're supposed to trust and be with are the same people who threw you in the well. And Yusuf would be heartbroken, but he was visited by an angel. The angel told him to be patient. It is difficult, but this too shall pass. Yusuf, you're destined for great things, and great things will not come easy to you. On that day, and the day before that, but many things were reassured to Yusuf. A caravan passing by would pull Yusuf up from the well. They would keep him. As days go by, Yusuf, a prophet, Yusuf, the son of a prophet, finds himself in a bazaar, in a market, to be sold as a slave. Yusuf Nabiullah, Yusuf coming from the family of prophets, finds himself in the souk, in the market, to be sold as a slave. Take half a minute here and imagine yourself auctioned as a slave in a marketplace. You're standing in the marketplace, either bound by ropes or tied by chains, held captive, with people looking at you and turning you and talking to you and touching you because you have no free will. You cannot practice or enact free will. You do not have a choice. They will bid a price, and the highest bidder will take you. That is who you are right now. Yusuf Nabiullah, standing there, waiting for people, not him waiting, but people walking by, to put a price on Yusuf and to buy it. But then he ends up in the palace of the Aziz, or in the place of the Aziz. And the Quran speaks of the story, the instance of Zulaikha and how he's thrown in prison. But Yunus is an honest friend then. Yusuf is still upright. You see, any person, and this is the pride I'm speaking of. Any person in a position of power, when you become relatable, when you know someone who's powerful, when you know someone who has control, when you know someone who can do things, when you know someone who's an authority, as soon as some harm comes to you, you say, "Oh, let me call this friend, he can sort me out." If somebody was to place you in a place like Yusuf was placed, the first thing you say is, how dare you touch me? Do you not know who I am? For I am the son of such and such person, Yaqub. But Yusuf was silent and he was quiet. And he was powerful. You know how he was powerful? Because in the well he was visited by the angel of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What bigger majesty and what bigger power? But he was humble. He humbled himself in front of what Allah decided and dictated. Because this is how it is to be. He finds himself in prison. People come to him and they say, "You look like an honest man." It's interesting, I saw a dream. One inmate says, "Yusuf, I had a dream. I saw a bird, a few birds rather, eating bread off my head." Yusuf says, you will meet a very sad fate. You will be prosecuted. But there's more. And he turns away and he runs and he goes. He has nothing to do with Yusuf. But what Yusuf says and said came to pass. The idea is, brothers and sisters, when men of God tell you things, when prophets of God tell you things, when the imams appointed by Allah tell you things, they've done their job. To receive it and accept it is on you. What came in Shaitan's way was his own self. Will your own self come in your way when it is time for your imam to call upon you? Will you question? Will you ask? How do you behave on that day? I'm not sure if anyone of you seen it happen live, but you've probably seen videos. You know how a glass maker makes glass bottles? He blows into a big pipe, and this soft thing then turns into glass, and he's easily molded then. He molds glass into any shape he wants. The same thing with iron. If you were to bend iron, if I was to take an iron rod and bend it, it won't bend. But once I heat it, it'll start melting. If you become soft in the hands of the Imam or the hands of the Prophet or at the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah will mold you how you need to be molded. But if you take your pride and you walk to the Imam with your pride and you insist he molds you and he shapes you, you will snap. Like a stick would snap when you try to fold it or twist it or turn it. So you sit, we spoke about the monologue and the dialogue with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, if you've arrived at the stage where you're speaking to Allah and you're having conversations with Allah and you're talking to Allah, now Allah will want to shape you and mold you the way He wants you to be molded and shaped. The question here is this: will you allow Him to be molding you and shaping you, or will you resist and fight back? Because most people fight back. Most people fight back. If you're sitting in the majlis of Imam Hussain alayhi salatu salam, and you have not the intention of becoming better versions of yourself, you will get the thawab of majlis. But you haven't reached the height. You haven't reached the kamal of the majlis. The thawab is there, the ajr is there. The thawab is there, and the ajr is there. And the ajr la yuhsa. You do not know the ajr of sitting in the majlis of Imam Hussain alayhi salatu salam. But in Jannah, there are levels. The Quran speaks about the levels in Jannah. The Hadith speaks about the levels in Jannah. Do you want to settle for the lowest level of Jannah? Or do you want to be with Rasulullah in the highest levels of Jannah? Where he says, many riwayat, he's looked at certain individuals and he said, he's with me like this in Jannah. So it's a choice you make. You can sit down and you can listen to the majlis and leave. And these are not my words. It's not because I'm speaking, it's because the lessons in the Quran, there's truths to it. So my question to each and every one of you, and myself included, is if truth was to stand up and stare you in the face, will you resist it and fight it, or will you accept it and make it yours? What do you do on that day? Because many people who claim to be with the truth, by the truth, for the truth, fell face first as soon as truth called out to them. Karbala being the prime example. The companions of the Imams being the prime example. The companions of the Prophets being the prime example. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen for the faces that I see here. May your parents be blessed. May you be blessed. May your elder be blessed. Because you could have been anywhere right now doing anything you wanted. But you chose to be here, not particularly to this majlis, but to listen to Imam al Hussein and to try and connect with Imam Hussein. For know surely and truly, and this is the promise of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whoever reaches their hand out to Allah, Allah will surely grab their hands and Allah will pull them towards Him. But to be pulled towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's a journey. Are you ready for that journey? I cannot answer that question for you because I can be easily fooled by the words and gestures. But the one person you cannot fool is yourself. Are we fooling ourselves in believing certain things? Or do we know who we are? And that too is a journey. When truth looks at you in the face, will you doubt it? Will you question it? Or will you accept it? And that acceptance is not happening till you understand the nature of truth. There came a point in Yusuf's life, alayhi salatu wasalam, when he became the Aziz al-Misr. Yusuf became the king of Egypt, the most powerful man in that area, in that dominion. Yusuf, once upon a time slave, sold as a slave, is now the king, powerful, not powerless. People listen to him now. When he commands, they respond. And in this time, when he is powerful, a few individuals show up at his court, faces he knows, his brothers. The same brothers that threw Yusuf in the well, the same brothers show up to meet Yusuf. They don't recognize Yusuf, but Yusuf recognizes them. They do not know Yusuf, but Yusuf knows them. What is Yusuf's response on that day? How does Yusuf behave with them on that day? How would you behave? People, if they were to throw you in the well, people, if they were to turn their backs onto you, how would you behave? How would we behave? How do we respond? Do we behave petty? Do we seek vengeance? It is only just that I throw them out. May you go out and starve because you throw me in the well to death. We would behave that way, maybe. This is not how Yusuf behaved. He forgave them. Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam forgave the people that threw Yusuf in the well. Why was it easy for Yusuf? Was it easy for Nabiullah Yusuf? Listen to these stories. Reflect on them. How would you behave in that place and position? One of the reasons it was easy for Nabiullah Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam to settle the score with his people is because it was not personal. Listen to this. You might forget. Listen to this. It might sit in your hearts. But if you utilize it, it will benefit you. And you come to realize how the awliya operate. It was easy for Yusuf to forgive because it was not personal. When I say it was not personal, is because a Nabi's relation, an Imam's relation, a Wali's relation to anyone, be it their spouse, be it their children, be it their family, is never linear. It's never a horizontal relationship. It's never a one-to-one relationship. There is always an entity, and that entity in that relationship is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If I was to seek a connection or form a connection with someone, and I'm to connect with them, I will have a direct connection and a direct interaction. I will behave a certain way, and they respond a certain way. This is the nature of a relationship. When two people come together, me with myself and them with their behaviors and their antics, and we try and live together. Sometimes there's friction, sometimes we get along. Things happen, we take it personally. And then we may choose to live together or we may choose to move apart. But when you form a relationship because Allah has asked you to do so, when you marry because Allah has told you to marry, and Rasulullah says it is my sunnah to marry, when you respect your parents because Allah has asked you to respect your parents, and when the parents treat the children well because Allah has asked them to treat the children well, and you respect your elders because Allah has asked you to do that, and every relationship you form in this world is because Allah has asked you to do it, then there is no expectation from the object of your attachment, or there's no expectation from the one you related or connected to now. There's no expectation from them. Because now your taraf al ma'amala is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You're dealing with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if your son turns out not to be the way you want him to turn out, and you've done the best, your son or your daughter, and you've done your best, and they do not respond to your love how they're supposed to do, had you done it for them and selfishly for yourself, you will be hurt and you will be broken and you will fall and you will cry. But if you love them for the sake of Allah and you gave them for the sake of Allah, and for whatever reason they turned out the way they turned out, not in line of your teachings, you're not heartbroken. You may feel the pain or the sting of it, but your ajr and your reward is with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It'll be easier, especially when it comes to silat al-raham. When Allah says keep connection with your relatives, communicate with them, speak to them, find out how they're doing, keep relationship with them, people often respond, it's like we tried, they're not responsive, we don't care, they can go to hell. They don't go to hell for all we care. If this is how you want to live and this is how you choose to live, you know what? You're free to live. No one will, there's no compulsion in living that way. But this is not the godly way of living. If you want truth, this is not the godly way of living. Companions wrote to Imam al-Husayn alayhi salatu wasalam, companions wrote to Imam al-Baqir, companions wrote to Imam al-Qadim alayhi salatu wasalam, and they said, Imam, we want to join your cause. Imam has sent them letters telling them, fix it with your brother first and then come see me. Go to your mother first and then come see me. Go to your parent first and then come see me. You do not be the oppressor. If you're oppressed in any relationship, parents will oppress children, wantingly or unwantingly. It happens. This is how life is sometimes. Parents will do things because they're human beings and they behave like human beings. And children will behave the way children behave. Not all relationships are perfect. But it is not for you to tell me how they're behaving. It is for you to tell yourself how you behave in the face of all of these problems. You define your own character. Let not the actions of others define who you are. Because then who are you then? Then you are nobody. If you let people dictate and define who you are, then you are no one. You don't know who you are. But once you found yourself, it is easy for you to go back. And you're principled and you know what you stand for and you know what you will not accept. You have your boundaries and you have your definitions of who you are. Another lesson to be learned from Nabiullah Yusuf's story. And this will all come back in Imam Hussein's time as well. These people came up who were aggressors, these people who hurt Yusuf Dahiran. But Yusuf only relates to people through Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah says, forgive them. Yusuf says, forgive them. I forgive them. There's no problem. It was not personal. It was for the sake of Allah. We love for the sake of Allah. We hate for the sake of Allah. And we're indifferent for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is how the Anbiya operate. This is how the Anbiya of Allah operate. Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam had a similar case. There's a man by the name of Hur bin Yazid al-Riyahi. When Rasulullah came to Medina and Islam became prominent, and that was the religion of the town and the people, and Muslims spread throughout Arabia, Rasulullah did one thing. He says, Ansar and Muhajir, you're brothers. You are brothers, a bond of brotherhood deeper than the bond of love. for your brothers in spirit. Each Muslim man is brother to each Muslim other man and his sisters and the brothers. Your brothers. You are a fraternity. Behave like brothers. One of the alamat of the moment is if someone is to put his hand into your pocket, he can draw out how much he wants because he's your brother. It's not practice because khair, people don't behave like that. But this is the essence of Islam and this is the essence of deen and madhab. So the brothers that are Muslims, in essence, are the ones that let Hussein ibn Ali down. They're the ones who turned away from Imam al-Hussein alayhi salatu wasalam. And this started before. I started with hasad and pride. This started long before. Every time Rasulullah would raise the arm of Ali ibn Abi Talib and say, after me it is Ali, people had problem with that. People had problem with that. Look at Shaitan's argument and look at this argument now. Why Ali? I am more older than Ali. Why Ali? I am such and such. And why Ali? Why Ali? I have a bigger family. I have more influence than Ali. Why Ali? Shaitan. Why Adam? Why Adam? خلقتني من نار خلقته من طين. Ya Rasulullah, why Ali? Because Allah has willed it. The reason I share these Quranic stories is because you will find very similar instances in the lives of the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salatu salam and the Imams of the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salatu salam. Even the arguments are similar in nature. The words may change, but the essence of the argument is the same. Al-Hasad, they would have a problem with it. The children of Medina would be rejoicing on Eid day. Al-Hasanain would not have new clothes to wear. The riwayah said, the tradition says, Al-Hasanain came up to a Zahra salamullah alayha and they said, please recite the salawat of Muhammad wa And they said what? They said, everyone's wearing new clothes. Zahra says, your clothes are coming. And the riwayah says, on Eid morning, Ridwan from the heavens came down and he brought clothes from Hassan and Hussein from heaven. So now the people had problems. Like, why did the clothes come from heaven? What's so special about Hassan and Hussein? Jealousy and pride. Why is the Rasul said all the doors to the masjid will be closed? You know how Masjid al-Nabi was? Masjid al-Nabawi was a flat land. It was not a masjid how we think it to be. It was land surrounded by houses, and in the center was the masjid. The houses had two doors, two exits. One would enter into the masjid and one would open to the outside, the alleyway. Rasulullah said, seal all the doors, let only one door to remain open. And that door is the door of Amir al-Mu'mineen and the house of Az-Zahra. They had a problem with that. Why his door? What's so special about Ali? What's so special about Az-Zahra? This murmurs, these ideas, these gestures, these questions, they were quiet because they dared not question the Rasul. But they came out on the battlefield in Karbala. For every time they felt the pain of jealousy, a sword would strike and hit Hussein and cut Hussein. From then, they had a problem with Ali and Zahra and Hassan Hussein from then. What's so special about them? Because they could not put themselves beside themselves. They would always look at Hussein and themselves. Pride. Pride causes jealousy. They're not ready to listen. Had you really said La ilaha illallah and Muhammad Rasulullah, how Rasulullah intended for you to say it, this would not be a problem right now. Ma atakumur Rasul fakhuduhu. Whatever Rasulullah gives you, take it. Rasulullah gave you Ali, you rejected him. Rasulullah gave you Al-Hasan and Al-Husayn and you rejected him. So where is the Islam? Where is the Quran? What muhabba and hub do you have for Rasulullah? What are these claims? Do you know, it's an interesting study, go look for it in Google. This was a hot debate till 150, 60 years till after the Prophet. Rasulullah has passed away. 160 years after, the Muslims are arguing. Islamic schools of thought arguing. How many parchments of cloth was the kafan of Rasulullah? Was it 5 articles of clothing or 3? The Muslims did not know what the kafan of Rasulullah looked like. You know why? Because they weren't there. They weren't there. And they argued. It says, we heard it is 5. It is only for Imam as-Sadiq to settle. He says, I know because my grandfather was there. I know because Ali ibn Abi Talib was there, alayhi salatu wasalam. It was 3. When it was time for the Rasul to be buried, you ran away. You were looking for khilafah. You were looking for power. What does it tell people? What does it tell people? What were you after from day one? And then when it came time to Imam al-Hassan alayhi salatu wasalam, was Hassan not loved by Rasulullah exactly like Imam Hassan is loved? Why choose someone else over Imam Hassan then? Why choose someone else over Imam Hussein then? There's a famous saying they attributed it to someone, but it's not to him. The original author is somewhere else. They say, at the time, everybody did bay'ah to Yazid except for all the ashab did bay'ah to Yazid except for Imam Hussein. The question is, if Imam Hussein did not do bay'ah to Yazid, why did everybody else do bay'ah of Imam Yazid, of this Yazid? La'natullahi alayhi. Why? Pride and jealousy. Pride and jealousy. You put yourself first. You do not submit to Allah, nor His Prophet, nor the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. After the Prophet passed away, you made problems for Imam Ali. Till a point where you killed Az-Zahra, and then eventually killed Imam Ali. Imam Hassan was poisoned by treachery, and came Imam Hussein's turn. Because pride and ego. Rasulullah said, fix yourself so you can be with God and be godly. Be with the divine, accept divinity, and you chose yourself every single time over them. And this is the end in Karbala. When one man realized his mistake, when one man realized what he did, he stood up and he chose to be accountable for his mistakes. And that man is Hur ibn Yazid al-Riyahi. Hur alayhi salam is from Kufa. He commands a battalion and he brings men because he's commanded by the governor. He's the one who takes Imam Hussein alayhi salatu salam to Karbala. On the 8th, 9th or 10th, or 8th or 9th of Muharram, he realizes that these people, they're not interested in Hussein's bay'ah. They're not interested in Hussein's bay'ah because they think Hassan did sulh, but there's still Shi'as remaining. If Hussein signs a peace treaty, then tomorrow we'll have a problem. So what they did was, they said, we want Hussein's head. They're not interested in Hussein's bay'ah. As soon as Hur realizes this, he speaks to Umar Sa'ad. He says, do you want to kill Hussein ibn Ali? Is this what you intend on doing? He says, well, yes, these are our orders. We're supposed to kill Hussein ibn Ali. Hur takes some time to himself and he reflects. Hur goes and he reflects and he thinks. And he sits with himself. Is this what I signed up for? Is this what I want? Do I want Hussein's head? It can't be. This is not what I wanted. They say Hur alayhi salam had a few sons, some accounts, and one son, according to one account, and a slave. He tells his son of his intention. He says, I did not intend to kill Hussein. I need to go see Al Hussein alayhi salatu wasalam. Hur leaves his camp and he goes to the tents of Imam Hussein alayhi salatu wasalam. This man is from Kufa. A man by the name of Aus al Muhajir. This is mentioned in Ayatollah Dasghaib's book, if you want to read this. Aus al Muhajir looks at Hur and he says, what do you want here, man? Why are you here? Do you want to launch an attack? Hur is trembling. The Muhajir asks him and he says, if somebody was to ask me who the bravest of men was in Kufa, I would say Hur. I have never seen you tremble as such. What do you want, Hur? Hur says, I want to see Al Hussein. He says, what work do you have with Al Hussein? One may assume he says, I have made a mistake. It is not my intention to kill Al Hussein. And it is I who have forced Hussein and his family to come to Karbala. You see, my brothers and sisters, this here is a rajul by definition. This here is what a gentleman looks like. He's made a mistake, he's realized his mistake. It is very easy for Hur to sit on horseback and run away in another direction, leave Karbala for good. But he understands, if I was to leave Karbala, with what face do I meet the Prophet tomorrow? And how do I face a Zahra on the day of Mahshar tomorrow? Hur covers his face and he walks to the camp of Imam Hussein and he throws himself at the feet of Imam Hussein. Ya Muhsinu qad ataka al-Musib. O the one who forgives, a sinner has come to you. Go back to the story of Yusuf. Let down by his brothers and see Hussein live Yusuf. See Yusuf manifest in Hussein. For Hussein is a manifestation of all the Anbiya before him. Hussein lifts him and Hussein hugs Hur and he holds him and he welcomes him. And the son and the slave. Hur has realized his mistake and he says, it's interesting. Remember when I said 2 nights ago what Hur said and what Imam Hussein responded, and Imam Hussein said, Thaqalatka ummuk, may your mother cry when she sees your janazah, and may you die and may your mother cry because of the grief of it. When Hur does this and he acknowledges his mistake, Imam Hussein says, your mother named you well, Hur. She's a proud woman today. For indeed you are a free man. Hur means free man. And Hussein is Abul Ahrar. Today, Hur, you are a free man. You don't respond to the army. You don't respond. You've understood the truth and you've come to the truth. And now you are free. You are emancipated, Hur. Welcome. Paraphrasing, now you're home. Now you're settled. Now you are where you belong, Hur. Welcome. Hur comes in and he looks at the state of the camp and the people in the encampment of Imam Hussein. He looks at the little kids who haven't had a drop of water to drink. He looks at their withered faces and he is embarrassed. He looks at the young men, how tired and fatigued they are. A shortage of food, no water. And who is this person suffering? This is the son of Rasulullah, Hussein ibn Ali. Hur cannot contain himself. He says, Ya Aba Abdullah, they will attack soon. If I have permission, let me to send my son first and let him to go die. Will you listen to what Imam Hussein says? Imam Hussein ﷺ says, it is inevitable that death come to us. For they have decided to kill us and we will be killed and we will be butchered. But Hur, it is not befitting for a man to lift his own son's janazah. It is not becoming of a father to lift his own son's janazah. It is better you go first and your son to follow. Oh how I could tell Hussein not only a few minutes shall pass, and this same Hussein who's telling you that it is not befitting for a father to lift his son's janazah is the same father who will be kneeling at the janazah of Ali al-Akbar and holding Ali al-Akbar in his arms and hugging Ali al-Akbar is the same man who will be lifting the janazah of Ali al-Akbar. Hur, when you were to die, Hussein came by your side. When Hussein shall fall from his horse, and Shimr will be sat on his chest, and when he'll sever his head, none of you will be by his side, and Hussein shall suffer his fate on his own. سيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون رضا بقضائه وتسليما لأمره ماتم حسين يا حسين يا حسين.